He says, they pestered me and pestered me because they wanted an actual Vatican cardinal present for this. And then he looks at me and he says, and they didn't even offer me a damn cup of coffee.
Okay, so Rob, this is fascinating. You reveal for the first time in this book you've just put out, that's just released, that Father Malachi Martin is a cardinal of the Catholic Church, but an in pectore cardinal, a secret cardinal. Tell us about that.
Correct. First of all, it's important to know that when I came to know Father Malachi Martin, I was an operations officer in the CIA, the National Clandestine Service. As my confessor, he knew that. So that's not something I was going to hide from him. And so he knew he was talking to someone working in American intelligence. And it actually came about, the topic actually came about one day when we were discussing over lunch when I had been confirmed. And it was sometime in the late 1970s. He asked me a couple of questions about the actual rite of confirmation. And he also asked me, he said, did the bishop give you a gentle tap or a gentle slap on your cheek? And I said, no. He said some words and that was it. But he said, I have grave doubts about the validity of the sacrament you received. He said, would you like to be conditionally reconfirmed? And I said, absolutely. And we got a good mutual friend of ours to serve as my sponsor. And I asked him, I said, who's going to be the bishop? Who's going to do the confirming? And he just looked at me straight up and he said, I am.
Oh.
And then after the confirmation, which was in the old rite, pre-1962, after that, when we went out to lunch, I said, well, you kind of hit me with pretty big 2x4 over the head with what you told me about being able to confirm me. And then it was about a year and a half, 2 years later, when I was driving him up to an exorcism evaluation up in Wilton, Connecticut. When we were on our way back, I recall that Malachi said, they pestered me and pestered me. And I said, about what? It was all very cordial. He says, no. He says, they pestered me and pestered me because they wanted an actual Vatican cardinal present for this. And then he looks at me and he says, and they didn't even offer me a damn cup of coffee. So at that point, I had to correct myself because it was like, the winding roads of North Connecticut. I had to make sure the Jeep stayed on the road when he let that one out. And then when we came to a stoplight finally, I just turned sideways and I looked at him and I said, that little slip you made about a cardinal from the Vatican observing, I said, do you mean? And he always wore half glasses and he just did this. He looked at me down his nose through the half glasses. And I said, why are you telling me this? And he says, because I know you'll keep your mouth shut. And I did. The only thing I was told years later, like 20 years after his passing, was that death absolves one, releases one from all such commitments. I mean, what are they going to do to him now?
Yeah. Well, praise God for that.
Hi everyone, this is John Henry Weston for LifeSite News. We hope you found this video insightful. For more content like this, be sure to check out the links in the description below. You can also follow us on social media to stay updated on the latest news concerning life, faith, family, and freedom. Thanks for watching, and may God bless you.